Hey guys, and welcome back to the Movie Club Emporium. And sadly, it is our final week in 90s schlock. But don't worry, because we're here in the muddy, trashy 90s trenches with friends. Say hello, Nick. Nick's here from our live streams.
Hey, everybody.
And we're going to be talking about a movie that is kind of at least one of, if not our official childhood movie, Holy Grail. It's a movie that thankfully my dad randomly slapped on like a long play VHS where he just like hit record on HBO free weekend and went to bed. And this little gem of a movie was on that tape. I was looking it up because I was trying to make sure I had the dates right. And it got its official American release in 1990. It did, however, debut in 1989 at the Cannes Film Festival.
You are shitting me.
No, I read that today and almost lost my mind. We were talking about the movie Rising Storm, or as the lone stunned bleached VHS copy I have says, Rebel Storm. This movie is everything I want from my 90s schlock. And now, especially going back to the first video I did, where I talked about Crash and Burn. And even that last year, with movies like Neon City and Mind Warp, I love 90s post-apocalyptic movies. And this one, number one, is super fun. Two is has way bigger names in it than you would expect, although still somehow slumming it. Gave me and Nick the greatest catchphrase that I'm pretty sure I know I still use to this day. And was watching it in July. Was it July? Yeah, end of July, right? Or August?
No, it was October.
It was October. Oh my god, it was only October? Feels like a million years ago. Was somehow hauntingly accurate for 2023.
It is bizarrely prophetic.
But this movie stars Zach Galligan. Yeah, that's right. Gremlins Zach Galligan. And Wayne Crawford, who I can only describe to you as not Fred Ward.
Yeah.
And through my whole life,
accurate.
he's just been not Fred Ward. And a bemutton chopped John Rhys Davies. This is pre-sliders, so again, like weirdly slumming it, John Rhys Davies. And this is the post-apocalyptic America, baby, where everything cool, like rock and roll and personal freedom, it's all been outlawed. And this weird mix of Ronald Reagan and Jimmy Swaggart is the president, or they don't call him he's the president, but they call him the president in the movie?
I can't remember how they refer to him, but he's the head honcho of the land.
Yeah. He's like the good shepherd or whatever. He's Uber. We're Uber. We are prime time like TV evangelizing this guy. Almost to the point, it's almost more of a parody than Arlie Ermey in Fletch Lives.
Yes.
And Zach Galligan and not Fred Ward are brothers who are they just trying to get by, getting what they can. And they get drafted by two beautiful blondes because that's another thing that every post-apocalypse had. Were just babes roaming the countryside. And they get drafted into this like almost Indiana Jones-esque adventure for like a lost artifact of cool. And that's kind of the bare bones of this plot. Now we can get into the specifics of how wild this movie is. So Nick, do you want to take it from there?
So Zach Galligan and not Fred Ward are brothers. In the beginning of the movie, Zach Galligan is journeying in a crappy old moped to go pick up his brother who's been incarcerated. I'm not sure if it ever says what he was in jail for, but this jail is the weirdest jail ever because this statuesque blonde dominatrix comes in the room and they start getting in this guy's prison cell right before he gets released and starts fighting him. Why? We have no idea. It is never properly explained. Um, and it's just a really bonkers way to open up the movie. And they, it's like this very sterile looking prison, but with dominatrixes assaulting you.
She looks like Brigitte Nielsen and Guile from Street Fighter.
Yeah, she's an intimidating looking woman. She just beats the crap out of him, and he returns the favor. I'm not quite sure what that has to do with rehabilitating people or anything. I don't think that's the point. It's just, hey, we have this Bridget Nielsen looking woman, and we're gonna have her do a weird dominatrix fight scene. I don't care. I love it. You know, and
we have to bring up, because it's not just this scene, but it's the whole movie. The score is like this weird northern exposure, like boom, 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 like it's this really bizarre music playing over these scenes.
Yes, and it gives it a really goofy overtone. But unlike the first Power, which we reviewed before, or since whenever it comes out, I think they were leaning into it in this movie. They were making a really goofy post-apocalyptic sci-fi movie about America in the distant year of 2099, which unfortunately this movie does bear more than a passing resemblance to 2024, but getting ahead of myself. There's so many bizarre scenes and touches of this movie. Like they leave prison and they go back to where they're staying, which is like this big warehouse full of beds where, you know, people are staying. All the while, a guy who we could have swore back in the day was Jesse the Body Ventura in some Terminator sunglasses is yelling a sermon.
He's not big enough for Jesse Body Ventura. It's like the Micro Machines guy is screaming Bible verses at you.
Yes. Apparently a place where you could stay really cheap, but comes with the territory of you're going to have a guy who looks like Jesse Ventura yelling at you biblically. And it is something. And
they're honest to God Jawas, like at different parts of the scene, like when they go outside, their moped is scrapped by Jawas. They're Jawas.
That's exactly what it looks like, and they make weird noises and everything. And also, part of the setting is we live in, it's like post-apocalyptic North America, and there's countries ruled by theocracy, sort of, and there's like stormtroopers everywhere. And they say, praise the Lord after everything they say, which leads to a line which we also got from this movie, which is wonderful. And I think you know what line I'm talking about, Jason.
Oh yeah, you can say we're not monetized.
Fuck your rights, praise the Lord. Because there's a part where one of the characters said, well, no, I've got rights. And the stormtrooper says, fuck your rights, praise the Lord. So those give various commands that followed up with praise the Lord. It's bizarre, but played to great comical effect in this movie. You know, they're after this treasure. They're trying to find this hidden. There's this radio station that's broadcasting rock and roll and freedom and all this stuff, and they're on a mission to find this radio station and the hidden treasure within. And they have this really awesome, badass armored vehicle of which they go on this post-apocalyptic road trip across the land in, while being pursued by John Rhys Davies and his stormtroopers. I
And
mean, what?
John Rhys Davies, he's just like he's in a tent torturing people with surgery the whole movie.
Yes. Why? I don't know. Does it matter? Who cares? And he looks like John Rhys Davies is hamming it up in this movie and looks like he is having a wonderful time. Besides the people sweating their ass off in the desert, I'm sure they had a lot of fun making this dumb movie.
Yeah.
Because, not gonna lie, this movie, pretty dumb, but it's fantastic. You know, a lot of people in the wake of Mad Max and The Road Warrior made post-apocalyptic movies, you know, where the whole world turns into basically Nevada and resources are scarce. Only this time they decided to just have fun with it. And reading more about it, apparently we picked up some of the references it was throwing down about Reaganomics and about culture in that time period. We're just a little too young to pick up on all of them. And that was one of the complaints I read about. It's like, oh, it feels kind of dated because you have to have a pretty good knowledge of of politics in '88 and '89 to really understand all the references in this movie. I mean, maybe so, but as we mentioned before, a lot of what they say and a lot of the jabs they take are still awfully relevant.
Yeah,
which is something, you know, it's like when we watched it first when we were teenagers, you know, it didn't quite resonate. Watching it again, I'm like, this hits home a shocking amount.
Somebody's been on Twitter.
Ugh. I really like. I think the lead, Zach Galligan, and the other guy whose name escapes me. I think they play off each other well. I think they have good chemistry. And not Fred Ward. It's like I think he's got pretty funny physical comedy and just delivering some great lines. And he delivers the greatest line of this movie, even better than "Fuck your rights, praise the Lord."
Hotter than it's they're digging in the desert, and if you know it's hot in the desert, and so to this day, you can ask my poor beleaguered wife if it's hot. My go-to line is that it's hotter than a chili fart out here.
It's a line out of nowhere, and I remember rewinding it back in the day so we could catch it there, and we just died laughing. Watching it again on VHS all these years later, that line still hilarious.
Yeah,
it's like, how have that never heard that term before? That's fantastic. It's one of there's a lot of just various funny lines throughout the movie because it's humorous. There's a pretty good bit of action throughout. It's just a fun Road Warrior-esque kind of movie. And it's just, I can appreciate that it really did something different. This one, I think it premiered on HBO, did it not?
Yeah.
When they finally released it?
Yeah.
And HBO, I think, put out some decently solid movies in the 80s and 90s that went straight to their channel. But my mind is blown about it debuting at cons. I would have paid crazy amounts of money to have been in that audience when they were screening it. You know, it's like art house movies, you know, movies about the Holocaust and Rising Storm.
Are you going to start the 10-minute standing ovation or am I?
There are people who are either walking out or loved every second of it. And I know which camp I fall into.
Oh yeah. And this movie, it has everything that you want, not only in a movie like this, but in the 90s movies. I mean, you have the action, there's this weird, like in the middle of a nothing scene, it just cuts to Zach Galligan and this other blonde chick having like the most softest of soft core sex scenes, in like an Arabian Nights tent.
Yes.
Uh, and then they find like this underground bunker that's full of like Pee Wee Herman dolls and Playboys, and they're just like, oh, the treasures.
That I love when they find the underground radio station and all the loot within, which is just stuff shamelessly referencing, things that are popular in 1989,
Yeah.
as you would well expect. But
And so there is a
it's
surprise cameo that isn't really, I mean, it's a surprise that when you see the name, you're like, I recognize that name from stuff. And then he only shows up on screen. And it's William Catt. That's right, people. Greatest American Heroes, William Catt. He plays whatever the DJ's name is. I mean, he has like what they call it. It's just him like in sunglasses being like, you guys want to know what the treasure is? It's just saying, fuck you to the government. Woo! Spin that Steppenwolf. And you're like, what?
it isn't out of left field. And when we first watched it all those years ago, I didn't catch that. But watching it's like, wait, that's William Catt. Just showed up. He's like, I want to be in the movie. We're like, we can make that happen.
Yeah.
Put on these sunglasses. But it's one of the reviews. They called it. It's like an action comedy that's like Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome meets Brazil. I'd say that's fairly accurate.
That is.
It's bizarre. They put a lot of effort into like the various sets designs and try to make things look grungy and sort of futuristic by having pipes and hoses come out of it and just dirty and grimy, and it's hot and miserable, and stormtroopers are all dressed in black and armor, and it's great. It's a movie. It should have a cult following. Ever since we watched it, I've been hoping one of these days it'll get rediscovered and get the credit it's due for being as genuinely fun and entertaining and shockingly clever and prophetic as it is.
Yeah.
I feel going into 2024 and an election year, Rebel Storm, Rising Storm, it needs to make a raging comeback.
I'm looking at you, Vinegar Syndrome. I want this bad boy. I'll pay the $60. Let's get that box set.
And if you could find anything about the production or making of, I'd be genuinely curious, because this is a movie. It said it's has to have some interesting history behind it, and what led up to the making of and the production of. Because they managed to sell somebody on this. They're like, the Road Warrior, only funny, and shockingly, it works.
And now having this copy, we're planning on going to Texas Frightmare HorrorCon this year. I've never in my life so badly wanted to meet Zach Galligan as I do right now.
Oh yes. Because how many people who have approached Zach Galligan at a convention and said Rebel Storm, Rising Storm, I bet that would make his day that somebody brought that up. Because Zach Galligan, he didn't have a lot of roles as a leading man. Gremlins 2, and this. And I can't really think of much off the top of his head. He didn't have the longest film career, the most successful film career. But I really liked him in the few roles he did where he got more screen time.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of the goofy, naive brother of the two.
Well, they're essentially playing they're essentially playing Han and Luke as brothers.
Yes, very accurate. And they, his older brother's, more of a badass, more street savvy, and Zach Galligan's just has a smile plastered on his face the whole movie and is having a great time and is happy no matter what, and has just kind of this innocence about him. It works. I adore this movie. I was kind of worried, it's like rewatching it is like, We may not like it as much. Nope, love it more. It's even better the second time
Oh,
around.
100%. Yeah, so somebody get on it. And like I said, I don't know if I think he was there one year we went, but I'm just like, hey, you think John Carpenter show up? I'm like, that's fine. Is Zach Galligan going to be there?
Yes.
Because if he is, we're gonna talk. We have to shut this line down. Both of you get out of here. I gotta talk to Zach Galligan.
Are you Zach Galligan, the star of Rebel Storm?
He just starts writing Merry Christmas song. I'm like, no, it's not the Gremlins. It was Rebel Storm.
No joke. I think that would make his day. And it's like, I've always wanted to do that. It's like, because people, people go to actors being like, oh, I loved you in this. It'll be something major. I've always wanted to talk to actors about, like, I want to meet Tom Hanks and be like, hey, let's talk about mazes and monsters. Because I want to see them get visibly uncomfortable when I bring up something.
Yeah.
Not Zach Galligan. I think he'd be pretty cool about it. But
well, that was my wanted to do for last year with John Carpenter was there. And I was like, oh, I want to be the one that's like, hey, John Carpenter, talk about vampires right now.
or Village of the Damned, his most critically well-received movie.
I'm the one who likes that movie. Hey, John Carpenter, I'm the one.
I'll never forget watching Memoirs of an Invisible Man. He made a few interesting ones in there. I might have to do an episode about lesser-known Carpenter. Anyway.
Oh, I'll be happy to talk about that anytime. Almost as much as I'm happy to talk about Rising Storm for anybody who will listen. So, again, This movie is not streaming anywhere. This is a lost film outside of this VHS copy, which I bought on eBay like almost 10 years ago. You might be able to find it for a decent price, find another copy of it. But it is lost to time. And again, this I only found so many years ago because it was my dad had it on like a VHS. It was like Hellraiser 2, Roadhouse, some Vietnam movie, and this.
I don't know the quality. Apparently, there is a copy on YouTube you can watch.
I think we tried that 1 year you were down, and it's not the whole movie.
Okay, is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie desperately needs to find an outlet, and that's the thing. I'm sure that's exactly what's kept it.
Yeah.
From achieving any kind of widespread popularity, because I can't imagine, even when they released the movie on tape, there was tons of these in circulation, and we just got lucky that your dad happened to have recorded it.
Yeah.
So it's an exceedingly rare movie, and just no one knows about it. Come on, HBO. Oh, put it on Max. Put Rebel Storm on Max.
I made that joke. What was I made that joke with? That was like, yeah, HBO, come on. I know you got rid of the Looney Tunes, but bring whatever this is to Max. Finally make a good decision.
They got it, and they could push it. I think that this movie deserves fans so much, and I just truly a bizarre post-apocalyptic comedy that was ahead of its time. And there's not a whole lot of post-apocalyptic comedies out there.
No.
Delicatessen and what's that other one? Radioactive Dreams, that's a whole nother ball of wax entirely. But yeah, it does something different. It succeeds. It's a lot of fun. It's prophetic. It's a great movie. It was great rewatching it with you again. I'm so glad we did.
Yeah.
And it said it was even better the second time around. I hope we get to meet Zach Galligan and talk about this movie with him. That would really be fair.
He'd be like, fine, we can talk about it, but you gotta buy me dinner. Sold. Drinks are on me, Zach Galligan.
Get him hammered and he talks about Rebel Storm. That would be amazing.
He only talks about it if he's drunk.
Yes. I will pay for those drinks all day long.
Yeah, I mean, it could happen. I mean, I'm hoping we could wheel this into the universe, because last year I could not stop praising Neon City, a movie I'd never heard of or seen before last year. Fantastic post-apocalyptic 90s movie. It just got a Blu-ray release, so let's get with it. And if we're asking for shooting for the fences and we're picking out movies from HBO Video, let's get that Night Flyer Blu-ray.
Real. Another movie. Night Flyer and Neon City both. Criminally underrated, both of them.
Well, that is going to wrap up 90s Schlock January. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I know I have. Again, there's nothing better. You can do this all year long. You don't have to wait till January. In fact, the only reason I started doing these in January was because when they were talking about movies that come out in January, it's usually the movies that have the least amount of what's the word I'm looking for? The studio has the least amount of hope in, faith in. Or as they call it in red letter media, fuck you, it's January. But these movies are great. You can always enjoy a good 90s schlock movie. They're an absolute blast. It's years ago, not years ago, was it last year? It feels like years ago. We did a whole huge live stream about the best 90s thrillers. And there are some great 90s thrillers, but
oh man,
just 90s trash. Oh, I just eat it like candy. It's the best.
That was a trashy decade, and I am here for it.
Yeah.
This seems like an unending well.
There are so many. So next week we are pivoting to what may be one of the best movies of last year. At least hopefully at the awards seating, because we are going to actually be posting our review of The Iron Claw. Now, if you would like to see that review weeks early, you gotta be there for the Twitch live streams, baby. Because we did it a couple weeks ago in your time, not in our time. We're like body hopping serial killers now. You would have seen it already because we shot it weeks ago. We were there live on our Twitch, yes. Twitch.tv/The Movie-Club Emporium. For February, we're talking, since February is Oscar season, Oscars are coming out. We're going to actually use February as our best of and worst of list year. Also gives us an extra month to watch a few more movies. Join us for that over on Twitch. We'll have a date for that. And then join us next week as we talk about The Iron Claw. And then where we go from there, it's all 2024, baby. That's a lot of babies. I don't know what I'm turning into. I'm turning into my own radio DJ. That's right, America. Woo!
You're inspired by the genius of William Catt and Rising Storm.
Yes. So until next week, where we talk about The Iron Claw, we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
See you next time. Thanks.